Hey, welcome back. And if you're coming back from the previous video, you remember we were naming all our shapes, but I think I I think we need to change one of the names here because I think we're going to run into some problems with VBA. You see, VBA is not really case sensitive. It's not case sensitive at all. So it's going to see this card A1 as the same as this card A1. So what I'm going to do with this smaller case A is I'm going to put a 2 there. That way I know what I'm dealing with and it looks different to VBA as well. So if you followed along from the previous video, you should have all of this in whichever way you'd like yours to be. So now we're ready to actually start coding. So I'm going to hit save for this, Control S. And we want to go ahead and code this front page, this first page, to go to this second page. So the first thing we need to do is open up our developer tab. So we're going to go now we're going to go open our developer tab because we haven't opened it yet. So this is our first time opening our developer tab. Now that we have everything set up, and we're going to hit this part right here that says view code. So I'm going to click on that, and what you're going to see is this window pop up. Now this window doesn't require you saving anything because it's always going to be part of your PowerPoint presentation, and that's why we initially saved it as a as it would be enabled for VBA or code or scripting, whatever. We saved it so that way we can make sure that all this code is automatically saved on our PowerPoint. Now, what we want to be able to do is create a procedure here and add it to this button. I'm not going to be explaining every single thing that I do here. I'll just tell you kind of what it does. You can go ahead and copy the code. And if you really want to know more about programming in general, it'd be wise to go check out some of my computer science or just my basic computer programming courses that I have up here, the tutorials that I have up here. Look up VBA, look up C#. I have some stuff on JavaScript and that sort of stuff too. And you can request some stuff as well, even some Python stuff. So those videos would actually go into detail as far as the coding. On this one, we just want to get a job done. I'll pretty much explain what it does, but I won't go into too much detail like I said. So the first thing I want to be able to do is go ahead and add what's called a module. So I'm going to right click on this area right here, and I'm going to go insert, and I'm going to insert myself a module. When I do that, I'll get this window here, and this is where all my code is going to be. So in code, we have these things called routines or subroutines, in VBA especially. Well, in VBA. Other programming languages just call them functions. But we have a routine, and a routine pretty much just does something. We want it to do something. And it's required that it has a name. So what we're going to do in VBA, we always start our routine names off with sub. If it's a function, we'd start out with function, but we're not doing any function. So we'll start out with sub, and we're going to call this sub start. We're going to open and close parentheses, and then we're going to go ahead and hit enter, and it automatically types this in sub. So for every sub, you need a beginning and end sub, and you need the name of the sub. So that's as simple as that explanation can get. Now, whatever I put inside of here is what this sub will do. And this sub, we wanted to be able to go from one slide to the next slide. And in PowerPoint, we activate the slide by calling upon active presentation. That means the presentation that's currently open. So I'm going to just start typing active and then uppercase presentation. And then I'm going to type a dot and slides. Now, the word slides returns a bunch of slides. We only want one type of slide, so we're going to put slideshow. And then we can scroll down and hit slideshow window. And if you didn't see it, you can go ahead and type it there. And then we want the view of that slideshow. And what do we want that view to do? We want it to go to the next slide. So now we have this start procedure that goes to the next slide. Now, I don't have to save this. I can go ahead and just close this. And now I want to add that procedure to this button right here. And the way I do that inside of PowerPoint is I select the shape, then I go to Insert, and then I go over here to Action. Now from there, I can go Run Macro, And then as you can see, the only one there currently is the one we just made, the start. Now I can hit OK. Now when I run my presentation by hitting F5, you will see that by me clicking on this button, it goes to the next slide. And now I notice some problems with my thing over here. I need to push this down, the score down a little bit, maybe push this up a little bit. But other than that, everything looks good. I'll push this over a little bit. So I hit the escape key to be able to escape out of there. And the reason why, if I move this background, you can see the white part is what will be seen. Okay, so even though this overrides the white part, the background, which is the stage, the only thing that's going to show up in my presentation is everything that's within the white range. So I can shrink this down to match the size of the stage so I don't really make any mistakes in the future. And then I can go ahead and drag these down so that way they're currently all the way in the stage. And I can take this one and I'm going to drag it up a little bit. I just want to make sure I'm in the white the whole time. So now I'm going to save that and I'm going to hit F5 to test it out again to make sure everything's perfect. So now we have our first VBA program working. Although it just goes from start to the next slide, we did code that inside of VBA, and now all we need to do is move forward to coding our score, learning a little bit about variables, and then we'll have our game done before you know it. I'll see you guys in the next video.